From whiskers to feathers to shells. Along with all us people, this city is filled with critters. Some tend to cause a commotion and make mayors eager to eradicate them.
Who likes rats?
But rats do have their supporters. Meet Mother Pigeon.
Yeah, they're my rats.
And her fellow rat rights activist, Margaret. They think the rest of us have it all wrong when it comes to rodents.
Let's lock your refrigerator. Let's take your credit card, rip it up, and you go find some food on the street.
Exactly.
How does a pandemonium of parrots find a home in the borough of pigeons?
There are rumors that the mob was involved, you know, that the Lufthansa crew had a hand in it.
And what's all that got to do with a man and his childhood pet?
This magnificent African gray parrot, probably my sister and I were like, we gotta get him, we gotta get him.
So began a lifelong passion for parrots.
My name is Steve Baldwin. This is a wild parrot safari in Brooklyn. Tickle in my hands.
Out at Jamaica Bay, a professor shows me why we need to protect the horseshoe crab.
Horseshoe crabs are far older than dinosaurs.
About 450 million years old.
Not gonna squirt ink or anything, is it?
But she's not doing all this work just because she respects her elders. The blood of a horseshoe crab saves lives.
Just a pint costs about $250,000.
This week, join us as we focus on the fauna of New York City, by land, air, and sea. I was on the phone a good 45 seconds before my mom mentioned the mouse. What mouse, you're wondering? Well, the mouse that had run across her kitchen floor the day before, just a few hours after the next door neighbors demolished their back porch, and a few hours before the neighbor down the street's exterminator's son laid out about $50 worth of traps and poison. My mama does not like critters. And if you are similarly disinclined to a mouse in the house, and the closest you ever want to get to one is on this side of your screen, you're in luck. We're going in with insightful and, dare I say, inspiring tales of critters. Critters by land, critters by air, and critters by sea. Just to be clear, that means rats, parrots, and a trip to Jamaica Bay. And while we may be novices on the subject, the humans here at the Dodo maintain an inexhaustible online menagerie, from head-scratching animal odd couples to pigs who snuggle their people and good old kittens playing with string. The Dodo is the daily click-through for all things animal, and they're taking us behind the digital curtain for a look at how the sausage is made. Don't worry. No creatures were hurt during the filming of this episode. Not even the rats.
This whole thing began with 2 goldfish that my sister acquired. From time to time, we'd have to go and buy fish supplies. And so we wound up going down to exotic aquatics. And then I think we just sort of liked to hang out there because it was a fascinating place. Well, right over the cash register was a hanging cage. In that hanging cage was this somber but somewhat comical presence embodied by this magnificent African gray parrot. And of course, an African gray parrot is gray for the most part, with sort of bright yellow eyes with those pupils that show emotion, but then a crimson red tail. Probably my sister and I were like, we gotta get him, we gotta get him. But I actually remember writing a document where I explained all the reasons why we should acquire this animal. And among them, I remember listing, like in a bullet point, this will teach Steve to be more responsible than he is currently. It sold the deal. So we bought the bird home, and the adventure began, and our lives were transformed in some strange way. And I am the man I am today because of it, for better or worse.
Like a little orange guy, right?
Yeah.
Orange, yeah.
Orange,
yeah. Is he from South? He's from South America?
Yeah, by the Amazon.
By the Amazon. Okay. My name is Steve Baldwin. This is a wild parrot safari in Brooklyn. I will be your tour guide. This is a free tour. There's no obligation. I do this just because I enjoy trying to share the story of the parrots with the general public. They can eat the pine needles, and they can eat leaf buds. And they also, they're smart.
In the late 1950s, early 1960s, Argentina, from whence they're from, they wanted to get rid of these birds. They were causing problems. They were coming down eating crops. So they said, all right, well, why don't we just kill as many as we can? That wasn't as easy as they thought it would be. So they said, okay, rather than trying to wipe these birds out, why don't we just capture them, as many as we can, and send them to where the buyers are? Because this was at a time when pet bird ownership got popular. So by the mid-1960s, they were sending thousands of these birds through various international airports, including JFK. Something happened at Kennedy Airport. No one knows really what happened. The rumors that the mob was involved, you know, that the Lufthansa crew had a hand in it, that's probably a lot of hyperbole and myth. But the parrots started escaping from the airport. And a bunch of them showed up in Brooklyn, and they were tracked. A bunch of them showed up in Long Island. They started showing up in New Jersey. And then eventually the USDA and the Department of Environmental Conservation, which was a brand new agency, they found out about it. But their reaction wasn't, oh, this is interesting. We got green birds from Argentina. It's like they got on the phone with their friends down in Argentina, and they said, we got some of your birds here. What do we need to do with them? And they said, kill them before they ruin everything. So they sent up a bunch of snipers. They killed about 300. This is in 1973. They didn't get them all. The birds that we have here now are the survivors of the eradication effort here in the 70s and then the eradication effort in the 60s in Argentina. But they've made it here. They've survived here for 40 plus years. And I say give them some respect and marvel at their endurance and, you know, their street smarts. They're real survivors. They've done very, very well here, almost as if they belonged in Brooklyn.
Up by Pelham Bay Park, and also in Queens by Whitestone. The one borough of there are two boroughs that we've never been able to colonize.
There's a dog to greet you at the door.
This is Oliver. He's a very important job here, which is official dog greeter.
Oliver.
Yeah.
I feel very greeted.
This is our wall of fame. It's, you know, 1/20th of the animals that we're obsessed with right now.
What does it take to get to the Dodo Hall of Fame?
I mean, you have to really get into our heart.
Like, whose heart is that little bald chicken of a parrot?
Oh, that's
whose heart is that?
When we were first starting to get into long form video, she was one of our first stories that we really got into, you know, more complex parts of her journey and everything, and she was. She definitely grabbed at our hearts. We, you know, across the board want to make people feel something, and whether that's making them laugh and feel better during a really crappy day, or making them feel inspired to actually, you know, pull out their wallet and donate money to, you know, help a dog in need, or become aware of a much bigger issue like, you know, poaching or something like that. And so it really kind of runs the gambit for us. In terms of how we want to make an impact. So right now we're in the middle of launching 4 new watch shows over the summer. So we've launched 2 already, and we have 2 more coming up in the next few months. This is an episode that we're in the middle of cutting for a new show coming out called Kid's Best Friend. And so we flew out and filmed this in Indiana. And for this show, we're really trying to capture just that joy of growing up with an animal. And so here we have Carter and Toby, his best friend, a dog. And one of my favorite moments that happened while we were filming is Carter, this little boy, he's baking a cake for the dog, and he reaches his hand into the peanut butter jar and just feeds peanut butter to the dog, and then he actually eats it himself after that. And those are kind of moments that are so important to us at the Dodo to capture because they're genuine and authentic, and they really capture the real bond between the kids and animals.
Pizza Rat was just the beginning. The mayor has $1 million plan to eradicate the city of rats, but there are some countervailing opinions on the other side.
I don't know any New Yorker who likes rats, rats. It doesn't matter what community you're in, everyone wants to get rid of rats. I will admit personally to having a certain admiration for Pizza Rat, but that's the only rat I have ever managed to like. Rats are incredibly upsetting to people in every way. They're dangerous, they're unhealthy. It's not just an aesthetic thing, it's something much deeper. And the problem is that you could be doing everything right, but something around you could be causing the rat population to grow.
That's Bonehead?
Yeah.
Bonehead. Oh my God. Bonehead's hungry.
Yeah.
And loves you. Hi. Yeah, they're my rats. Thank you. Look at the dogs. The dogs freak out with the rats. My name is Mother Pigeon, and I make rats and pigeons out of felt and wire, and I set them up in parks and street corners. And here's my rat. Right now in New York, there's a big war on rats. They're spending $23 million to eradicate them, kill them, and so there's only a few left. So if you enjoy rats, you're not going to be seeing them as much. And that makes me really sad because, you know, I know you. Let me get you some food. I met Margaret probably like a couple years ago. She came over to me and said every night for the last few years has fed a family of rats that live in the gutter. And you know, when she told me that, I wanted to cry. I thought that was so amazing. And she invited me to come and meet her family. She calls them her family.
Thank you for leaving me a message.
So I want to remind all New Yorkers, we need your help to fight rats. This is not a magic bullet, but it is a very big change of approach.
And you know how many animals get fed out of this kitchen?
Yes, many animals, lots.
Many animals. We don't know exactly how many,
Yep.
but the rats who are having dinner tonight, who I call, you know, the family.
Yep.
We think there's about 40, but we don't know exactly.
You don't see
They
all
look-
40. They
yeah,
all come out a little short, little bit of time.
So people, if you have a conversation about rats, which is not all the time, but you know, if you do, people will say, "Oh, you know, they survive, but you know, they find things."
Oh, there's plenty of food for them.
That really.
I can't. I hate
that.
when people say that.
I hate that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hate that.
You know what? Let's lock your refrigerator. Let's take your credit card, rip it up, and you go find some food on the street.
Exactly.
You know.
You know, and here's the magic of the NutriBullet. People just, you know, love it so much. Plus, I didn't want to give that to them all the time. You know, I wanted them to have, you know, something good and substantial and different that they like. So I researched. Well, you know, what do they like? You know, what are their favorite meals? And I discovered things like
Nut butter.
macaroni and cheese and you know, yeah, nut butter. Now.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah,
nice.
This is good. This is good.
And do you use like an oil or something to form the balls, or you just do it?
I use this.
Oh.
So that they'll get uniform, so that no one says, "Oh, you got a big one and I got a small one." No, I mean it's just horrible all round. The way animals are treated in the city.
Oh yeah, they're treated like worse than garbage.
Yeah. Okay, everyone, see you later. You're in charge.
Wow. Yeah, you really do live.
Yeah, I mean you can.
They want all of New York to look like a mall. That's
nothing to drink.
So what got to sterilize the everything.
Yeah. I have a few pigeons over here. Sad. Okay, we are approaching the family's home. There's no sign of them. Well, as soon
No
as
poison, right?
As soon as I start putting this down, you might see a face appear. You'd see a little face appear right in there.
I don't see them. It's fun because last time they ran out to greet you.
Well,
they're trained better.
They're trained better.
This is good. People say, oh, well, they carry disease, and they almost wiped out humanity with the plague. And I said, well, the only bad thing about rats is that they didn't wipe out humanity, and that they just kind of fell short of that part, because that would have been an absolute victory if the rat would have done that. So that's what I say to that.
Okay, thanks everyone.
So it's totally cool. The boss let me know that you can be on Instagram now.
Yes,
so
in
don't
fact.
worry. You can do this with impunity here. So hashtag the Dodo has 645,805 posts. That's a lot of posts.
It is.
That's like 10 more followers than I have on Instagram.
Well, we actually have 3.6 million followers.
Oh, is that all? So you could change somebody's life by posting something that they did onto your platform.
We can, and that's actually one of the best parts of this job, is that we have a direct impact on so many animals' lives. From the time I've started, we've saved countless animals by just another employee saying, I found this dog today stranded in the subway, I heard about it, post something about it, and then we'll find them a forever home in the next 2 days.
And it works and it works
it's
and
incredible.
it works.
It's really rewarding, and we try to always be focused on sharing adoptable animals.
Well, you're doing God's work from behind the keyboard here. Who are these dogs and cats that I'm looking at?
So these are some posts from our hashtag, and we always like to go in and engage with our fans, because they'll use the hashtag to try to, get in front of us and be discovered, basically.
Yeah.
So I'll go in and take a look. This is Sir Thomas the cat.
Sir Thomas over at Milo's Sanctuary.
Yeah. So we'll go
adopt the
in, we'll engage with this, comment, And this is kind of how we find stories also. So sometimes I'll go in and see, like Sir Thomas, maybe he needs a forever home and he's been waiting for a long time. So I'll flag that to our video team or to our editorial team so they can push that further and create a story from it.
Are you tired of looking at fur faces?
I could never get tired. Often I can't believe this is my job.
Off the Belt Parkway, there's a home to amazing biodiversity with some living fossils that may help save lives. New York City is the concrete jungle where big dreams are made of. But it's also this, a quiet coastal enclave that's the site of the most important event in the life cycle of one of the most important creatures on the planet. I'm with a professor from Kingsborough Community College who's doing some important work saving an animal that might very well have had a role in saving your or someone you love's life.
Horseshoe crabs are far older than dinosaurs.
They're older than dinosaurs, and they managed to stick around this place.
They are a living fossil, 450 million years of evolution, and the fossil remains that we found look remarkably similar to the modern day horseshoe crabs. They actually have been able to extract a medical compound from the blood of horseshoe crabs, which is used to detect bacterial contamination in surgical equipment. So if you have ever had any kind of medical intervention, stitches, even a vaccination, the sterility and safety of any surgical equipment, even dental equipment, would have been virtually guaranteed by Limulus amoebocyte lysate, or LAL, which is an extract from horseshoe crab blood.
Thank you, miss.
All of this habitat is kind of the remnant of what used to be a bigger wetland. Much of it has been filled in and modified. So all of this data feeds into a bigger study, a broader investigation to try to understand the population dynamics of horseshoe crabs. Our ultimate goal is to increase the levels of protection of these animals and the habitats that they rely upon.
My name is Adam Paris. I'm the Executive Director of the Science and Resilience Institute at Jamaica Bay. Our vision is to pursue a model of collaboration between scientists, agencies, and community groups to improve the health and resilience of Jamaica Bay and the surrounding waters in New York City. To have clean air, food, water, we have to have healthy habitats. Species use habitat wherever they can find it, and they are more resilient than we give them credit for. There are literally hundreds of species, birds, fish, invertebrates that use Jamaica Bay on an annual basis. Horseshoe crabs frequent Jamaica Bay and use some of the shoreline habitats as spawning grounds and return perennially to Jamaica Bay.
Right now we are at Plum Beach. This is one of New York State's most important breeding beaches for horseshoe crabs.
Whoa, it's not gonna squirt ink or anything, is it?
No, but this is a live male horseshoe crab. And
hello, sir.
We can tell that he's a male because he has these boxing gloves here, these larger appendages that are designed specifically for grabbing onto a female shell.
Hold on to the ladies.
Yep. So if you ever see a horseshoe crab that's on its back like this and it's still alive and kicking,
should you help it?
Do the right thing and flip it over.
Because that's what always made me sad when I was a kid in those nature things. They just showed you a thing dying and dying. I'm like, okay, why don't they just flip it over? Can they see through this?
Yeah, they actually have a lot of optic sensors. So they have eyes here. They kind of have optic cells all along the front of their shell. They have what looks like a nose, but that's also used for light reception. And even along the tail, they have light receptors. Citizen science is the new way. And this is one of the things that I do with my students. They don't have to be professional scientists.
The resilience of the Bay for future generations is absolutely critical to our mission. And part of that actually, and part of our mission, is to help educate and train people who live in and around the Bay, the students who become the resilience leaders of tomorrow.
I was pretty terrified the first time I saw one. but I realized that they're really super harmless and more beneficial than anything than harmless to us.
Yeah.
So we're really trying to preserve them and ensuring that, you know, based on anything that they're going to try and do on this beach, anybody's fishing, we want to make sure that they understand these crabs are beneficial and we kind of need them to survive.
After 450 million years, we can't let these guys go on our watch.
They're too precious to us. Their blood is too much of a benefit to us. Just a pint costs about $250,000.
Wow.
And you can imagine for every time you weren't infected, you didn't get a cough, you didn't get a cold, you didn't get sick, it was thanks to him.
If you just scoop right down under him, you'll be able to get him out of the sand, and we'll take a closer look.
My first crab, where did you go?
Give him a little bath so we can get a really good look at this one. Interesting that that telson is short, so Kay, make a note of that. Short telson and asymmetrical opistoma.
Asymmetrical opistoma, I can only...
Yeah, so that it's alive and very cute.
It's tickling my hands.
And is it soft?
You've worked and studied in Belize, in Costa Rica, you did your Fulbright in Borneo.
Wow.
How does the biodiversity of all those places most of us couldn't find on a map compare to where we are a few stops away from the F train here?
Well, I got to tell you, it's surprising to the average person to see how much biodiversity there is in New York City. And then if you go offshore, the unseen biodiversity just below the water surface is vast.
So while you may not have held a crab in the palm of your hand, donned a pair of sea socks, or joined the ranks of the citizen scientist.
Let's see, that was 1, 2, 3, 4.
A species hundreds of millions of years in the making may depend on you for its very survival. And this critter is right in Brooklyn's own watery backyard. All right, so personally, I'm gonna ask you, cats versus dogs.
I'm a dog person.
Okay, score 1. How many people are you guys interacting with on the daily?
I mean, it changes month to month, and our audience keeps on growing. But I think we're about like over 2 billion views per month. You know, when you're starting out and you make your first video and it gets millions of views, it just feels very surreal to see that that many people have seen your work. But yeah, it's just very exciting because we're all about the mission too. So it's not just rewarding from the ego perspective, but you are also feeling like you're making a difference, you're spreading a message, and people are getting it.
Tell me about the larger mission of what you people do here at the Dodo. That's more than just cute animal videos. There's a larger thing at play.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we work with organizations. There are many causes that we fight for. But the other thing is just, then again, like making people feel for animals and feel compassion. And if they find somebody, if they find an animal in need, because they will have seen those videos, maybe they will feel more compelled to help.
Thanks for going in with us on Critters. For other stories of people, puppies, and everything in between, go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/BRIC TV. Bye now.